Day. This is our first day. We haven't been down here covering the Diddy trial. This is our first day actually down here covering the Diddy trial. There is a Jane Doe on the stand. I'm just going to say a couple of things in regards to her. And I'm going to tell you how there's a good chance. So I've been hearing, I don't follow all media that follows these cases, as y'all all know. I believe a lot of these individuals to be giving out bad information. A lot of the time it's because they just don't understand the courtroom, and then other times it's because they can't see strategy. And like I keep trying to explain, in our culture in America, especially in the black community, we tend to choose opinions and emotions over facts. So we tend to choose opinion and emotions over facts. So a lot of these content creators I don't really subscribe to or follow because I don't think they're doing a good job. So with that being said, I'm going to say something involving the Jane Doe that was on the stand today. The prosecution missed their mark. From what I've seen so far, obviously there has not been a cross-examination yet, but I'm guessing the cross-examination is going to go somewhere along the lines of these women that were involved in the Diddy situation were complicit, and they were actually a part of the problem and not victims. And I believe that I kept hearing this narrative being pushed, and I can 100% see this as being a thing, because Homegirl pointed out something that Diddy did with her that he also did with Cassie, as we already know. And the main thing with that is they contact the Johns that they see. So all of the men that these women are ultimately sleeping with, they're contacting them and telling them to come over. They're telling them this. All of these women, all of these men. So I think that that's going to be what the defense is going to use as their linchpin to get him up out of here. And I think that there's a good defense there, just so we can be clear. And I think it's the prosecution's responsibility, if it's on them. The onus is on the prosecution to prove that these women were under some type of duress or under some type of manipulation in order to validate, they couldn't have had given consent. So I'm going to say something that I thought was really interesting. And I think there's a lot of people, especially women, that if they were on the jury, hearing this in and out from basically every single woman, that Diddy paid for their everything. Jane Doe is on the stand right now complaining basically that if she, Diddy basically told her in but so many words, if she stopped doing these freak offs, then he would stop paying her rent. So at what point do you say you're not a victim? At what point? And this came out during the prosecution, as they should, just so we can be clear, because they would hate to, it would work against them to such a capacity. It's so much, it would work against, very strongly against them if they didn't bring this to light and then they allowed for the defense to use this as a hammer. But as long as they say it first, then the defense hit them over the head with it. But that still doesn't change the obvious impact of her basically saying in so many words, if I didn't do this, Diddy basically said he would stop paying my rent. Diddy would stop giving me the $10,000 a month, because apparently he was giving him like $10,000 a month. This is what 50 Cent was laughing at his baby moms about. Like, Diddy had you up in all of those hotel rooms, sleeping with all of those men, doing all of these, and he was only giving you $10,000 a month? So I believe that this is where a lot of these women that's going to get up there and complain And I'm saying complain on purpose. I'm not saying that they were complicit. I'm not saying that they weren't drugged up. I'm not saying that they weren't, there wasn't pressure or force put on them in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying any of this. But what I am saying is what she described is a complaint she had. Because at this point, she was working at a job. Now, with that all being said, in the states where this was being done, this is illegal. Prostitution is illegal in these particular states. So and this is where if you're the defense, you have to be on your A game. Because you can't agree to certain things, or you can't just let certain things be said, because later on they could be brought up because of all of the charges that he's under. So even if you can say he didn't force these women to do anything against their will, there's still an argument that could be made that there was some sex trafficking involved, just so we could be clear. That argument could still be made, but as far as I can tell right now, homegirl is basically, and I don't really want to use the word complaining, but this is what it was. She's complaining that Diddy paid all of her bills and she had to do this sex stuff to get her bills paid. She literally had a complaint that all the other girls that he's doing these things with, he's taking them on trips, but he doesn't take her on trips. It sounded more like complaints than it did, and I'm not saying that they are, just so we can be clear, but it sounded more like complaints than it did an actual crime being committed against them. Now, with that also being said, I want to be clear about something. There are so many women who believe that they would do that at the drop of a hat. They believe this. But she brought up something that was very interesting. And this is where I think they'll be able, where if the prosecution, I'm not in the courtroom, I'm in the adjacent courtroom where we just see the monitor, so I don't see all the evidence pop up on the screen like if I was in the actual courtroom. Just so we can be, I just like short girls, man. Short girls with butts. I just like, not the badonka-donks, because I'm not the short girl with a nice shape. I just like short girls with a nice shape, man. In any regard. So, and I want to be clear about this. I'm like, I got like a window out here, so in any regard, I want to be clear about this. And I don't, just so we could be as fair as possible to all parties involved. What it seems like is that Diddy did not make, it was pretty clear that in order to get her bills paid, and in order to get her rent paid, and in order for him to give her money, she had to do these freak-offs. Now, she agreed, or she was involved in it over a very long period of time. A very long period of time. So how do we accept when she says she doesn't want to do it no more, but she still wants to get paid, and she still wants to have her rent paid? How do we accept that? Like, how is that accepted? Because in all fairness, if you just didn't want to do it no more, you gotta move. I didn't hear her, at least in her testimony, say that he was threatening her with physical violence, or that he was threatening her with some kind of, shutting her out of, spaces in order for her to not be able to make a living. I didn't hear her saying any of these things. All I heard her saying that the threat was her bills weren't going to get paid, and that was it. So that's what the threat is. the argument could always be made, you can just leave. So, like I said before, a lot of times people want to make these arguments or these court cases go like how you talking to your friends in the street. That's not how the courts work. The courts do not work that way. The courts don't go on gossip. The courts don't go on hearsay. A lot of y'all indict individuals off of hearsay. Somebody will just say that they're a victim, so you believe it. And meanwhile, the only person is the victim is the person that's getting called the victimizer. I'll read some comments real quick. Jamal Faris says, BBN Frost Mods all in the chat. Hit that like button. Salute. Hope everybody's having a beautiful day. Jamal Faris, let's go family. Little B since 1983 says, when pimp pays this prostitution rent, does it change the way you look at the pimp? Once again, I'll assume all pimps is paying the prostitutes rent, just so we can be clear, because they're not really giving them the money that they're worth, right? So if a woman is worth, you know, her prostitution services is worth $10,000 a month. I'm just throwing out a number, the round number. I doubt that he's paying her $50,000 of that $10,000. He's probably paying her more like $3,000 or $4,000 and then paying her rent, right? We got some homeless person staring me down as he's walking into here, so somebody's probably sent him to come harass me. So, no woman that is selling her body and has a pimp is getting the money back from the pimp. First of all, there is no amount of money that value can be equivocated to, just so we can be clear. Don't sell your body. God loves you. He don't want you doing that, period. Just want some real shit. Go find yourself a husband. Go make yourself a good wife. You understand what I'm saying? Go do that. If you want to be a career woman, shout out to that shit. Don't go sell your body. Just on that type of time. Even if it's just pictures. Don't go sell your body. Alright? Do better. Yo, bro, a pimp don't pay the Johns. Puffy is paying the prostitutes. Okay, so who said the pimp pays Johns? I don't think anyone said that. I think you're just making things up. You know how people sometimes make things up so they can create an argument that they could be right about? Yeah, I think you're just making stuff up. So I don't know what the argument is that you're trying to prove yourself to be right at, but you can put it in the chat. I've listened to it, but I have no idea what you're talking about. You just obviously, I don't have no idea what you're talking about. Nobody said anything about Johns being paid. Nobody even said anything about Johns being involved, just so we can be clear. But if you are paying a woman to have sex with anyone, that is a form of prostitution. Period. Diddy was paying these women to have sex with random men. So therefore, in all essence, Diddy was the John. If you want to say anybody is the John, they are the prostitutes. So I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know where you probably heard that argument from, but like I said, I don't really follow a lot of these content creators because they don't know what they're talking about, and they usually just saying foolishness. They don't be knowing what they're talking about. So I don't know where you heard that from. I'm trying not to. you gotta be mindful. Okay, see how he's trying to create a conversation? I'm not even having, you're not gonna create a conversation out there in the world and then come try to have it with me. Alright? So you have that conversation, told you, look at these people. So you go have that conversation out there in the world where you want to have that conversation. I'm not talking about that in any regard. So she's on the stand and she's basically saying that she didn't want to lose her home and she didn't want to lose the things that being Diddy's girlfriend afforded her. When in reality, in order to be Diddy's girlfriend in this manner that she was, there were things that she needed to do. So when she stops doing these things, she does not have authority over Diddy's money. So my point is this, and this is the only point that I'm making as far as this is concerned. If this was something that she truly did not want to do anymore, she could have always left that home. She chose not to. Until I hear that Diddy threatened her in a way that he was going to go into spaces to prevent her from having a, supporting herself, or he was going to, physically harm her if she left. I need to hear something along those lines, because I'm not hearing that he was forcing her to be anywhere. I'm not hearing that. That's not something I'm hearing. I think that in order for some of these arguments to be made, and I'm going to talk about a way that the argument can be made without this being a thing, but give me 1 second. But in order for some of these arguments to be made, there has to be some form of force. So now if they come out, he said he's going to release the tapes, and she could prove it. And then yes, that's some kind of coercion. That's a form of manipulation. That's a form of, forcing somebody to do something against their will. But I need to hear something like that at this point. This is only one day in here. This is my first day here. As I know, I do a lot of things in my community. I backed off of some of those things so I could get back into the courtroom. Well, so I could do for a ton of different reasons. But one of the things it's going to afford is for me being able to get back into the courtroom. So now with that all being said, I do see the prosecution pushing at something right now that I find interesting. And that is that he kept the women drugged up and, basically high and drunk and drugged up off of different drugs. So I think that that's kind of the narrative that they are attempting to push. Strap Season Boxing said, Frost back in these courts. I didn't think he was going to cover Diddy trial. Gonna see you back there. Yeah, I plan on coming back. I didn't bring anything for notes or anything like right now, but yeah, no, we're gonna be here a couple of days. We're gonna cover it. We're gonna see what's going on. But I'm not sure. Like I said before, I'm not in the main courtroom. I'm in an adjacent courtroom where we're looking at it on a monitor. So there's just certain things that I'm not going to be privy to. But as far as I can tell, the prosecution, as they are supposed to, is letting it be known that these women did a lot of these things allegedly at their own volition. But I just want to be clear about something, and unless I hear something different from Jane Doe, she could have always left. It's just if she left, her bills weren't going to get paid. I don't know the times that they're talking about that she was with him. They keep saying 2-3 years, and some of these texts is from 23. I'm about to say something in a minute. And some of these texts are from 2023. So she was with him probably 2021 to 2023, along those lines. Probably 2020, 2023. So this is something else I want to point out that I found interesting in a couple of different ways. So there is a video, audio, and I found a couple of things interesting, but I'm going to mention two. The first one is this. Diddy was trying to get her to say that she was consenting. And it, like, you hear the conversation that he's having, and he's trying to slip in there that she consented. And he was like, well, you went and got the guys, but that's all manipulation. But she did go get the guys. So what are we doing here? But he was slipping in. You were consenting to try to make it sound like, this is part of her idea, her plan. He kept saying things like, we're partners in this. And it sounded like manipulation to me, but that's because I know a lot of narcissists. It sounded 100% like manipulation. I don't know if that's gonna fly inside of a courtroom with competent individuals who have, one, been manipulated before, or two, have manipulated others. I have no idea how that's gonna fly. Remember, we're all human beings. When people tell lies, I don't think they realize that you're telling a lie to somebody who's possibly been lied on themselves, like who hasn't been lied on. So I don't think they have that in their brain when they're telling some of these things. They just think, as long as they make it seem murky, then they could, manipulate and get the thing they want to happen. And I think that might be the case in this particular situation. So with that being said, she says that there is a text message and a conversation that they were having revolving, I believe that this is what I was just speaking about, revolving around when Cassie decided that she was going to go public with the situation. And her lawsuit came out. And Jane Doe read the lawsuit. They said it was 35 pages long, somewhere along those lines. But there was 3 specific pages that she not only read, but that she screenshotted, and she said, "This sounds like my life." Now, she's only met Jane Doe. Jane Doe's only met Cassie 2 times, and they were just in passing. It wasn't in any kind of, we're gonna stop, have a communication, talk. We didn't get to know each other. We were just at a place, they was at a place. We might have looked, we might have waved, we might have said hi. That's it. So she does not know Jane Doe. So the fact that Jane Doe contacted Diddy and said, "This sounds like what my story is, like what happened to me in regards to our relationship," and she broke down, and that's when Diddy then started having these conversations with her. Prior, like a couple of days prior to Cassie's lawsuit coming out, Diddy, I got her on the phone, and that's when he was saying, "We in this together. It was only it was your idea." So then after, because he was taping her, somebody was taping her. I'm assuming it was him at this point. He even asked her, was she taping him? So he already knew how volatile this conversation could be if it's taken, I guess, in the appropriate context or out of context. I have no idea. But he understood the importance of this conversation is the point in which I'm trying to make. So, absolutely bananas. I think it's a light day. This is my first day here. I don't have no book, no notes, no nothing. We're going to probably have some tomorrow. But as far as I can tell, this witness, unless the prosecution has other things that they also plan on speaking about, this witness is not necessarily breaking the bank. This witness might be laying foundation. I think this witness, it might be you could tell a pattern of behavior. Because if they bring 3 or 4 females up there that all have similar stories, then that's going to be a pattern of behavior, right? Also, these people that were sleeping with Cassie were getting paid. These people that were sleeping with Jane Doe were getting paid. And Jane Doe was being paid. So that would literally make Diddy the John, just so we can be clear. And if that's so, and if prostitution is illegal, then reality, every single one of these states that this business happened in, he should be in trouble for sex trafficking. So I think as far as the sex trafficking charge is going, they're laying good foundation, as I can tell from this one witness. But anything else, like at this point, getting these women to do things against their will or anything like that, I don't see that being laid down yet. I think, there could be arguments that could be made. Don't get this confused. But from this one witness that I heard, I don't see them being able to make that argument currently. I'm not saying that they won't in the future. I'm just saying currently I don't see that argument being able to be made. I think that there are other arguments that are successfully, the groundwork is being laid successfully. But I don't think that there's going to be an argument that's going to be able to be made, because she could have just moved out of the home at any given point Could have stopped accepting his money at any given point. She could have decided to do something else at any given point. She wanted to keep the lifestyle. She wanted to keep the house. She wanted to keep all of the things that came with doing these free calls. She just complained about doing the free calls. And unless there is some type of evidence out there that she's going to be giving, or the prosecution is going to be giving, where Diddy said that he was going to be, monogamous, where it was just going to be him and her, and, there's no real reason to believe that he was ever going to leave this lifestyle, and that this is just something that she was incorporating into her own lifestyle. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But at this point, that's all I'm getting from it. I'm not really getting nothing else. But like I said, this is just one witness. This is just one witness. I've heard some crazy stuff that they said was happening before I got here in the courthouse, in the courtrooms for the first couple of weeks. And so I don't know whatever bananas that they might be trying to fix to this. But as far as I can tell, she could have just left. But there is a pattern of behavior, and I think that that's more than anything else what the prosecution is probably trying to do right now. That they're, sculpting, they're molding, they're showing the jury that this man is a serial pimp. I don't know. But he has these fantasies, and he likes seeing women do this with men. And in some instances, there was people that saying that he was doing stuff with the men. So we got to see what happened. I still don't see a RICO anywhere. I'm assuming the RICO stuff is just because there's going to be an argument at some point made that he wouldn't have been able to do this without this company and with this business and with that company and with that business supporting and backing whatever he was doing. That's the only reason why he had these particular authority to be able to tell the person, the people, this or that, in order to be able to get them to comply with whatever the bullshit he was trying to. So I don't see a RICO, and I haven't seen a RICO at all. The little bit of stuff that I know, a lot of bit of stuff that I know about Diddy, I think literally, if they wanted to really make a RICO against them, they could have. But as far as I can tell right now, I don't see a RICO. I'm assuming it's just because they wanted to use certain evidence that you can only allow into the courtroom if there was a RICO, because there's certain evidence that you can only use in RICO cases, like as far as hearsay and things like that is concerned. So that's what I'm guessing is happening. That's the only assumption I can have at this point. With that being said, look, I love y'all. I'm about to get back to the courtroom. I'm probably late. They're probably already getting ready to start or something. I'm about to get back to the courtroom. I see. It feels so dope to get recognized. I ain't gonna cap, but I don't really care. I'm just walking past people. I be know who they are too. I don't see nothing. But it feels so dope to get recognized. I be thinking people don't want to get bothered in public. Like, that's my perception. I grew up knowing a lot of people who are actually really famous, and I go places with them, and sometimes it's just best to just let people, you don't never know the peace people have being able to be outside and not being stopped every 5 minutes because somebody knows who you are. And they might like or dislike you. With that being said, look, I love y'all. Everybody have a beautiful day. Remember, keep God first. And we'll be back later. I'm out.